What up, Yang Gang? We're back again. Welcome to the Low. And today, what are we going to talk about today, Mia?
Today, we're going to talk about how some Texas households are facing electricity bills as high as $10,000 to $17,000.
And it's not been a month yet.
Nope.
It's like a week and a half.
Storm that left millions of Texans without powers is also leaving many of them in severe financial distress. Some are seeing bills as high as $17,000 for those who were lucky enough to keep their power. Even some residents who didn't are receiving notices that their usage went up, which they are being told to ignore unless they receive it on their invoice. Yeah, that's weird, right?
So even some residents who didn't are receiving notices that their usage went up, which they are being told to ignore unless they receive it in their invoice. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's only going to bankrupt you. Don't worry about it.
Texas has a purely market-driven system from which residents can choose from over 220 different plans. During the outages, the cost of wholesale energy shot up to its cap of $9 per kilowatt hour under the direction of the state's utility commission. So, in the middle of the crisis, when things were looking like they were going to get bad, they said, well, we are going to just jack the prices up all the way to the max to discourage people from using their electricity during,
Don't use our product, but we're going to charge you a premium for it.
That was the actual argument that they make, the utility commission, is that because this is the market regulating itself. People aren't going to use as much electricity when it's this high. So that way we can get more the whole point of having the electricity in a crisis is so that people don't, suffer, which many did.
Yep. And still are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Many of the worst cases involve a company called Griddy. While Griddy gave its customers a heads up a week before the storm that prices would be unstable and advised them to switch, some were able to do so on such short notice. And other companies were not interested in taking on new clients with the coming storm. So they referred people to leave with a week's notice. Not everybody was able to switch for multiple reasons. Some of them literally being declined by other companies.
Exactly. And they're like, we're about to screw you so hard, you might want to leave. There's another quote from the Griddy folk down there in Tejas. It says, to the Texas Utilities Commission, what are you thinking, allowing the average type of household to sign up for this kind of program? Tyson Slocum, the director of energy program at Public Citizen, a consumer advocacy group, said of Griddy, the risk reward is so out of whack that it should never be permitted in the first place. Griddy has been asked if it will assist its customers in any way with their outages and bills, and they have stated that customers can contact them about payment plans. Thanks. However, that might not be an option for all customers, as Griddy was actively taking money from at least one user's bank account that they had access to, draining it until it had only $200 left in it, likely because the bank interceded. Whew. Okay.
So while they're telling customers that they have payment plans available, if you have a linked account with Griddy, they are automatically pulling it before contacting you, before the invoice is up, before anything, and it's stealing. That's stealing at that stage. There's no bill yet. They're pulling money actively from this woman's account. I think her name was Miss Tanner in the article that will be linked later or something.
Man, oh man. Yeah. It said, for its part, Griddy is attempting to shift blame, typical, to the commission for raising the prices during the storm. From here, it looks like there's plenty of blame for everyone, naturally. But this just shows you how an unfettered open market gouges the shit out of people. And it's supply and demand without regulation. If they could have charged $50, they would have charged $50, but they only capped them at $9. So imagine if it was $10. Imagine if it's $18 to $20. It would be $20,000, $30,000. It's just unheard of. And here's the thing. It's the same electricity we all use everywhere. We live in Michigan, me and Mia. Mia lives in northern Michigan. So I'm sure electric bills go up quite a bit, and gas or whatever you use, natural gas, propane.
Yeah, their bills go up in the winter and then in the summer they go up too because it's so freaking humid here. But
yeah, then you gotta use the air conditioning. Yeah.
the electricity is very fickle in Michigan.
Well, and the thing is, in Texas, those homes aren't built for sub-freezing temperatures. Their insulation standards aren't as high. Their windows aren't required to be up to code, up to A, B, and C. Like here, we have to have the windows. If you get new windows, they got to be, what's it called, triple pane, where it has a layer of air in it that doesn't allow for the heat transfer, the cold transfer between as fast. It always will, but it slows it down significantly.
Yeah,
those are energy efficient ones.
We've also got low income winterization programs to help people who can't afford to get their stuff there. I'm imagining people in Texas who have their gas pipes leaking, or not gas pipes, their water pipes leaking.
Water pipes, yeah.
Shut off. And then they get this bill, and they were wondering how they were going to take care of the problems before that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how they can, do whatever the hell they want just because you checked the box 2 years ago. So yeah, guys, it's pretty bad when even Fox News is calling them out. Saying that one customer saw a bill of $17,000. And again, guys, this was like a 10-day thing. Not even 10 days, more like a week. And think about that, how much they want to justify charging people, how much they charge them, up to $9 a kilowatt hour. You'd almost consider yourself lucky if your electric was out.
Particularly if you're poor and you can't cover the costs. So I'm sure some people were fine with it, but
yeah.
One woman lost all 3 of her kids.
What?
Yeah. They died in the night while she was sleeping. She woke up in the hospital. She had turned on the fireplace to keep them warm because they didn't have electricity. And all of her kids died in the night, and she woke up in the hospital from the fire.
From the fireplace?
From the fire.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm sure she wished she had electricity, So it's putting people in these situations where they have to choose between one necessity or another. There's always going to be a loser.
I'm curious, what can the federal government do, if anything?
I don't know about the federal government. From what I read, it's mostly on the responsibility of the state to try and step in for these bills and such. The federal government can send aid, but the state still has to direct it, especially as large of a state as Texas is. You can't just go one spot and have it all go to where it needs to go. So the state's going to be in charge of most of it. Several of the articles said people could go check out churches or basically beg for help from the typical sources where they send poor people when
society fails them. Yeah, and that's something too that pisses me off. So now our tax money is going to go bail out the companies that are overcharging, because the thing is with state code. So just to reiterate this, guys, the reason the federal government can't intervene is because Texas has a closed network system in their state. If you're in their power grid, you only supply power to the state of Texas, which is not a problem because it's its own freaking country almost. It's so big, right? So they have their own. That's why the state is actually so wealthy, because they make deals with their own coal companies, their own gas companies, and their own electric companies right there. So they don't want anyone else from outside interfering. Big brother, we're Texas, we're independent. Now you're fucked as a citizen if you're poor. Or if you're just not in a good location, not even poor. If you're in a wrong location, you just lose electricity. Now, I will say this. Rich people can afford to buy generators. At the drop of a hat, they go buy $1,000 generator and just turn that baby on and put some, what's that called, JP5 or diesel in there and just crank that baby on and run all night, Hardy Hat said something here in the comments. He says, I think the state of Indiana has its own power grid too. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, that's worth looking into. But this is what the whole point of conservatism is the whole point of the Republicans and the GOP is to conserve the way things have always been, quote unquote, to deregulate. They want to deregulate everything. And this just shows you, if you allow them to deregulate, what they will do. They'll exploit you to your last dime, to your last breath.
And they'll bury it under so much time and, well, nothing's happening yet. You won't notice it until it's already barreling down on you to the point that it's deadly. Because they're going to hide it. They're going to sweep it under the rug. They're going to do everything they can to cover it up until the moment that the Jenga tower collapses.
Right. Well, and someone in a comment here says, but shouldn't the government get the F out of our lives? Yes, but the problem is if the government doesn't regulate the market, then the market takes over your life. Now you work for the electric company.
The market isn't your life. The market is not your life. Your life is your life. That's the things you do with your family, the way that you live. But when it comes to being able to get to work, yeah, you want the highways maintained. When it comes to being able to turn on your lights, yeah, you want somebody to make sure that somebody's keeping that power grid stable. You need those things to work to be able to continue to live your life without the government interfering in it.
Well, and here's the pushback, because one of the guys in here, Airlord, he's one of my friends that are my conservative friends that always has a conservative pushback, and I do appreciate it. But the point is, if you want them out of your life, but yet you want them to control women's bodies, which one is it? You can't have them tell women what to do with their bodies and then say, get the F out of my life. But first, control women's rights. You see the mental gymnastics being performed. And that's where I push back. And again, Airlord, I appreciate your comment, brother. More regulation doesn't mean less rights. More regulation doesn't mean less freedoms. Trigger words, right? It means regulation of the market. It's not regulating me. It regulates the market.
Forces that are larger than an individual that can affect multiple individuals. You know, if you think about it from that perspective, companies have more control over your life than the government does. So maybe we should be more concerned about regulating companies than we are about the government regulating things.
Yeah. But it's, everybody wants them out of their life until the shit hits the fan. So the shit has hit the fan.
I want them out of my life. I'm on welfare. I want them very far out of my life with a UBI.
Right. Yeah. And that's something too is I want to challenge people moving forward because I'm a welfare recipient my entire young adult life coming up until I went in the military. And then I had a socialized payroll. I had a federal job guarantee. I was in the military. I got paid every 2 weeks, right on time. Not a lot, but it always came. It's a salary. It's a UBI. Think about that. The military gives you a universal basic income. It doesn't matter how many hours you work, because trust me, they don't want to count that because you'll be making about $2 an hour. They make you work all fucking day. But so yeah, that's always been my pushback on the conservative point of view of or libertarian point of view. I lean libertarian. I'm center left, but I like some libertarian stuff. Like I want them out of my life too. Don't tell my daughters what to do with their bodies. Get the F out of their bodies. But yeah, so this is just a good example of what deregulation looks like on steroids.
Anything when taken to its extreme is dangerous. Mm-hmm. And we need to definitely learn that when we're advocating for specific ideologies. Mm-hmm. If somebody says, I'm a communist, well, maybe you shouldn't be a full communist. Maybe you should be communist with a little bit of democracy and some socialism. The parts that are good, the parts that work, let's keep those. And let's stop demonizing different ideologies, because there's a little something that can be taken from almost every one of them, except for like monarchy. I don't know what you would get out of that.
No, but communism, I don't see a lot of upside to that, except for everyone has equally no rights. You know what I mean? Like you have no voice in the market. Like the government tells you what you're worth.
Yeah, the concepts that are good about it is making sure that nobody falls behind anybody else to an extreme. Like the idea that everybody gets enough to get by is the good part of communism. The rest is ideology that gets stretched out and to whatever sense you want to take it.
Well, the problem with communism, when it fails, everybody suffers at the same time. That's the biggest, like when the open market fails, people get left behind, but not everybody.
Little bit of everything.
Right.
It's completely unregulated. This shit happens.
Uh-huh.
The market's overregulated. People can't do what they want to and can't invest what they want to. So you need to balance things. And we need to stop pretending that one ideology conquers them all.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. That's why I like the term democratic socialism. Because in that market, you have the employees have a representative on the board of these large corporations, stuff like that. So you have representation, and you have citizens and workers, being spoken for, represented truly. But communism just will never, it'll never fly here. Let us know what you think about this in the comment section, and always like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. It always helps to share. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll talk to you later. And like always, gang gang.